Günaydın. Good morning. I want to pick up where Jay left off and present to you some of my work as an art historian, a sanattarihçi, which is very different from the work of a designer or a mathematician or an artist. So I'd like to explain what it is I do and how I do it, and show you some of the work of my students at the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, Maryland, where I taught for 12 years at the same time that I was curator at the Textile Museum of Islamic Textiles and Oriental Carpets. The work of an art historian concerns the study of the history of art. But art history fundamentally is a historical study that only has a history of about 150 years in the West. It's a Western academic discipline, so that traditionally it has privileged the works of Western civilization. Periods and styles in the history of art are categorized often by attributes of form, space, and time. Think of this as a three-place nomenclature, for example, Italian Renaissance architecture or French Impressionist painting. My domain for the last 4 decades, 40 years, has been visual arts of the Islamic world, which has only recently, relatively speaking, entered into the realm of the Western study of art history. But as an attribute, any of you who know about Islamic art recognize that the term Islamic is problematic, for it is not defined temporally or spatially, and it includes many distinct cultures in many parts of the world, including Spain, North Africa, India, Iran, Indonesia, Western China, the Middle East, and of course Turkey. But also, art history involves the critical use of sources, studying the origins and transmission of ideas as expressed visually, where these ideas and techniques of expression came from, how they were expressed, and why they were expressed, which requires us to seek to understand through interpretive strategies of primary sources, the primary sources being buildings, monuments, and objects themselves. The methodology of art history is discursive, that is, it is based upon discourse. It is heuristic, that is, it is neither formulaic nor standardized. Art history concerns both the object or the monument and the context, social, economic, political, religious, ideological. The interpretive strategies, such as formal, stylistic, and iconographic analysis, or applications of theory such as feminist theory or Marxist theory, but it often relies primarily upon documentation of a monument or an object, as you see here, through detailed plans in the field, elevations, sections, drawings of formal ornament, analysis often based on comparative analysis, and interpretive strategies that depend upon relations with other media and with contextual studies, identifying patterns often of what is similar and what is dissimilar. The interpretive level goes beyond the material evidence at hand and depends upon the development of arguments. Art history also includes studies of patronage and the reception of works of art, the identification of influences, networks of artists, nodes of communication, and interactions among arts and ideas, among others. Because I was curator at the Textile Museum in Washington, D.C., my main field of study was Islamic textiles, including Oriental carpets, preserved from the 15th century, preserved in complete form from the 15th century onwards, with many earlier fragmentary carpets preserved here in Turkey from the Seljuk period. My work at the Textile Museum brought me to the study of pattern, and my study of pattern brought me to looking at intersections of art and geometry. Over the years, however, I've developed various areas of specialization. Oriental carpets at the Textile Museum, and in particular the study of symmetry and pattern, to which we will return in just a moment. But I began with 2 years here in Turkey as a teenager in college, and 2 years in Iran, both periods of living overseas working on archaeological excavations. Like artists, my work involves creativity, but it is limited, the creativity is limited to the production of knowledge. Like mathematicians, I am always looking for new problems to solve, areas of research that have been overlooked or understudied, cultural forms of expression not well understood in the West, and in particular, my research has related craft and technology to the production of knowledge. I've been particularly interested in interrelationships of design, structure, technology, and function set within particular cultural contexts. And my work in the last 20 years has primarily focused upon the study of pattern in Islamic architecture in Iran in the 11th and 12th centuries. Well, with that introduction, I'd like to present some of the works of my students. This was a group of students visiting Doris Duke's house and museum at Shangri-La in Honolulu, Hawaii, which my mathematical colleagues working there with me considered to be a temple of geometry. And my students at the Maryland Institute College of Art in courses on Islamic art and studying Plato, geometry, and Islamic art. And then 3 summer sessions of, at the Maryland Institute I taught for about 12 years, and this was 3 summer courses on summer math for high school girls from around the country, held at Mount Holyoke in Massachusetts. What I want to present you with finally is the work that my students did that I appended to a huge website on symmetry and pattern, the art of Oriental carpets, which was transformed to a website with the help of the Math Forum then at Swarthmore College in, outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And the students' work is presented in the educational resources section of this website. I'd be happy to provide this link and have it sent around to all of you. And I thought I'd go through a couple of examples of what the students came up with. The assignment was to make at least one exhibit to an exhibition of Islamic art at a museum. This would be in the United States, but it could be when they were on vacation or going home for the holidays or in the area of the school itself. And to select 3 objects with patterns, to sketch the patterns using perception and trying to figure out how they were constructed, analysis. Then they were to engage in making their own practicums, making a choice, constructing an infinitely repeating pattern by using a compass, constructing a self-contained pattern, constructing an interlaced pattern, constructing a frieze or border pattern, or constructing an infinitely repeating pattern arbitrarily cut off by borders. For each exercise, they could use any material or any media, and they could interpret the word construction as they chose. They could make it simple or complex. They could use paper and glue or string or crayons or pastels or paint or computers, rubber bands, nails, linoleum, etc. I wanted to share with you 3 results from this project and go over with you. Let me see. Okay. This was the work of a student who took a piece of paper towel, havlu, and she took gold ink and highlighted the found pattern of a hexagonal grid and nested hexagons within it. So it was an unexpected found hexagonal grid in a paper towel. The grid is a tessellation, a pattern created by the repetition of a single shape, in this case a regular hexagon, which when repeated covers the plane with no gaps and no overlaps. All triangles tessellate, do all quadrilaterals tessellate. So the students were then set to this as a test. The slide I skipped was the work of another student who printed a full length of cloth. She was playing with visual parallels of a split-leaf arabesque, but she's drawn upon formal aspects of design and color alluding to traditional Islamic arts of the book. But by including gas pumps and nozzles, she has brought traditional designs into the context of her present world and introduced a satirical concept and an edge to the visual pattern. The third example, the student said, I've investigated 3 types of patterns found in Islamic art that are also in various everyday activities: riding a bike, playing the piano, and walking. She writes, in order to observe the visual pattern of these activities, I used bicycle tires, fingertips, and shoes as stamps. I'm just showing the bicycle tire exercise, applying them to newsprint in regards to the structure of specific patterns. By rolling a bicycle with charcoal on its tires over a piece of paper, I've created an interlaced pattern. The impression of the tires never quite line up or are completely parallel as they roll. Rather, they weave, lace, interlace, and wrap around other tracks as they roll off the ground. My response to this, each student work has a list of materials and steps in the process, an artist's statement, which I just read, and then a teacher's comment. This practicum, with the bicycle tires rolled in charcoal and then on paper, presents conceptual interlace. The movement of the bicycle tire is abstract and arbitrary. This creative approach to the assignment of the practicum leads to infinite possibilities. So some of these examples relate directly to what Jay was explaining in terms of the constraints of education. This offers the opposite, a sort of expanding of education based first on the study of Islamic art and traditional patterns, but leading into the realm of contemporary design and contemporary production of pattern. And I'll be talking more about some of this when we are in Konya. Jay, do I have a minute to show a few more images if I can find them here? Okay, that's better. This single pattern of Jules Bourgoin, the students were asked to color with 1 color, 2 colors, and 3 colors. This is just going to cycle through, and that's okay. The purpose of the exercise was to sort of blow all of our minds that one pattern could lead to so many possibilities. And no one in the class expected that with 35 students and 1 pattern, we would receive 105 different patterns. So I just wanted to share that with you. And both of these works that I've shared, the Bourgoin pattern and the Symmetry and Pattern website I can make available to you. This is a PDF as an article that I wrote on Islamic art, an exploration of pattern, that was given at the Bridges Conference in London in 2006. And the Symmetry and Pattern website has all of the students' work from, I think it was 2005. Thank you very much.